This is the best Detroit auto show that I can remember ever. I've been going to the Detroit show for nearly 10 years. It was great.
Welcome to TFL Cars beehive of activity where we're editing and just trying to keep up with everything that was revealed at the Detroit Auto Show. And Nathan is absolutely right. This was the best show we've ever been to in terms of cool cars. And coming up right now, we've got the top, well, 5, but we're throwing in a bonus 6 cars that were revealed from the Detroit Auto Show. The number 6 car, which is a bonus car.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's the Mercedes-Benz Gla Coupe. We're standing behind a beast of a car, man.
Yeah, it's really great. Yeah, the Gla Coupe is amazing, right?
Yeah.
We're so excited about it because what this car does is it combines really the greatest attributes of what a coupe is with the capabilities of an SUV. And of course, the ones that we'll have here in the US are super athletic, razor sharp driving dynamics, and great power.
And basically what it is, it's a BMW 6 Series.
Pretty much.
So
Yeah, X6 Fighter.
X6 Fighter, yeah. And they came out with an AMG version, the 63S, which is the X6 or MX6 Fighter.
Too many letters and numbers.
It gets worse.
And that's the point, because Mercedes has completely changed the way they're naming their cars. So now the ML is becoming the GLE, and you know everything else is changing. Mercedes/Benz no longer Mercedes/AMG
for AMG.
Yeah, and Mercedes/Maybach for their S-Class. I am completely confused. They did a whole presentation where they said, hey, we've simplified it, and they showed it to us, and I was like, I have no clue what they're talking about.
Yeah, it's like making brain surgery good for kids so they can follow along too. And the thing is, we've gone through this before. Remember Infiniti?
Yeah.
Infiniti went and renamed everything, and journalists are still going, well, what is that? In this case, it's even harder because there's just names that have gone over to names that used to belong to somebody else, and it's a cluster.
And Cadillac is going to do the same. They're changing their names too.
But Cadillac doesn't make cars. They make a brand.
The reason we're picking the Mercedes GLE is because it's significant because Mercedes has like doubled down on crossovers, right?
Big time.
So now we have a full line of all sorts of baby Mercedes-Benz crossovers all the way up to, 4-door coupe crossovers. And it just goes to show that people love crossovers and the manufacturers want to build what you guys love. So yeah, we're going to see a lot more crossovers. All right, let's start with the top 5.
Absolutely.
Number 5 on the list, Nathan, is the Lexus Gs F. Why?
Because it's basically a hardcore 5 Series fighter. M5 fighter, I should say. And it is it's a 4-door RCF. Think of it that way. It's got the big V8. It's got 4 doors, not 2. It's got a little bit more room. It's a slightly larger car than I think the RCF is. And the bottom line is that it's a badass V8 Lexus. They've gotten a big displacement rather than a tiny turbo, which is very interesting.
But is it really an M5 fighter? I'm not sure because M5 has got more horsepower, turbos,
and weight-wise, I mean, it's going to be heavy. This is going to be a heavy car. But see, that's the whole thing about this car. We don't know quite yet. We need to take it on a track and really find out what it can do. But this is something we knew that was coming for a while, didn't we?
Yeah, we knew it was coming, and I'm going to pull this out of my you-know-what because I'm pretty sure it's 476 horsepower, and that does not reach that magic number.
500?
Yeah, and you know what? The problem is the hell can't just reset the bar. At 707 horsepower, and that one is right, they completely reset the bar.
Yeah.
And so when Lexus comes out with a sub 500 horsepower, 4-door sedan, you're like, really? You're only 476?
I mean, you still have to drive it, right? It's still going to be a good car, but like you said, 470-something horsepower, it doesn't just sound.
And there's not going to be a manual transmission option. And some of the competitors now offer a manual transmission option, but we'll get to those in a minute.
But I like the way it looks. The GSF.
So it's a good-looking car. Yeah, the GSF looks really good.
All right, number 4. And this has to be, of course, a Mustang, the Ford Shelby GT350R. What a mouthful.
takes a 350, which is an incredible starting point, and it really focuses the car into a very visceral, very focused track experience. So all the superfluous amenities are stripped out of the car. No AC, no back seat, no NVH insulation, no trunk trim, you name it.
So if you want a car that you're going to drive every day and you live in LA, I don't know if this will be good for you because there's no air conditioning.
It is street legal, yeah.
It is street legal.
But I saw the tires. They're just a couple little grooves to make it legal, right?
It's
just all rubber there.
It's a funny thing in terms of what's considered legal, and it was a really neat introduction because they actually blew it on the stage, did a 180 and
like a drift,
a drift and everything. And it sounds amazing.
Andre, talk about the cam.
Well, the engine, actually, I asked them about horsepower. Like,
yeah.
Tell me the horsepower. No, not ready.
Of course.
And what's another one of my favorites? Well, it has to be the new Mustang GT350R. Okay, here's why. Because this is just the essential track car, right? It's a 5.2 liter V8 flat plane crank, which means that it's gonna scream up to 8,000 RPM. Can you imagine this thing up at 8,000 RPM? Just wah, bah, bah. Oh, fantastic. I can't wait to hear this car in action. Plus, it's got the new independent rear suspension, which I haven't tried out yet. I've driven the solid axle Mustangs, haven't been in the new IRS setup. So this would be my car because I want to take it out to the track and really see how she performs just with all of this superfluous weight cut out, no back seat, no air conditioning. You don't need that stuff. All you need is some pure Mustang, some pure muscle, and a track, and you got yourself an A-OK car.
But it's the flat plane crank,
yeah,
right? So which allows the engine to rev higher and quicker.
It's basically a race car.
It's basically a racing,
yeah.
almost racing engine.
Yeah,
and it sounds amazing. Like
yeah, it just sounds great. Now, speaking of amazing sounding, we should go to the next one.
Oh, I agree. Can you believe now that in America we have 2 4-door sedans that are capable of 200 miles an hour? 2 of them, not just the Hellcat, but now adding to that exclusive list is the Cadillac Cts-V with the supercharged engine that puts out, I think it's 640 horsepower.
Yeah.
Cadillac said 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds and a 200 mile per hour top speed. That is just mind-blowing.
After hearing about this Cts-V sedan, I think the BMW M5 and the Mercedes-AMG E63 have something to worry about.
Guys, this is awesome. And I don't know for sure if they're going to offer it in a manual like they did with the last model. I really hope they do.
Or a wagon.
or a wagon was so cool.
Which only automotive journalists bought.
I know, there's 500 of them, and most of them, yeah. But at the end of the day, think about it. There are 2 American cars being built that will be able to go over 200 miles per hour and pretty much destroy 90% of the competition that's out there.
And this is more horsepower than the M5.
Yes.
The Mercedes-AMG. You know, 640. It's a big number.
That's a big fat.
Did you notice they didn't have the Hellcat up there though? The Charger Hellcat. They didn't consider that a luxury brand.
Yeah, because it's not technically a luxury brand. But you know what? I agree with Cadillac. I think that in terms of the cars they go head to head with, they absolutely destroy them in terms of numbers.
All right, there's a couple other things you need to know about this Cadillac. It's got magnetic ride control, and you can bet at 200 miles an hour those shocks better react fast. You want this fastest Cadillac that you can buy? Well, you're going to have to wait until this summer.
The real question is, how will it drive? And we need to find that out.
And the engine, I actually asked
you listening?
I asked the engineer about the engine, and I said, is this the Z06 engine? And he basically said, yeah, but the oiling system is different. So,
does it have a dry sump, you know?
The Z06 has a dry sump, and this is a wet sump. And I asked him, how come? He says, well, we have more room in the Cadillac to fit the wet system, and it's, you know, it's a little bit more easier to make and cheaper. So that, you know, so it's actually...
So the dry sump system is pretty much a track tool.
Yeah.
Right, you don't need it driving to the
local Dairy Queen. It's high pressure, a lot of plumbing, right?
All right.
He said tool.
All right, I have a disclosure to make. Once upon a time, I owned the Acura Nsx.
Just like the first generation Nsx, it's really not about the technology. It's about creating this amazing sports car, an amazing driving experience for our customers.
Yes, you did.
And when my son was born, I had to sell it, and it was worth it because there's no backseat, obviously, and I guess you could consider me a huge fan of that car, and I guess you can consider me hugely disappointed in how freaking long it took them to bring that car out finally. Because, you know, I remember the Super Bowl, was it 2 years ago, where Jerry Seinfeld, who was there, by the way, Seinfeld was at the
Yeah,
video.
he was. I almost ran into him.
Yeah, who said, you know, he got one on order, and in the time that it took to build the car, Ferrari came out, which is basically the same concept, all kinds of different electric
and the P1,
gas.
McLaren P1.
The McLaren came out.
Porsche 918.
Porsche 918 came out. BMW i8, and so they're really late to the party. Let's be honest. They kind of
they dropped the ball because they should have had it when the minute they showed us the concept. They should have said in 18 to 20 months we're going to have this on the road, and it took 4 years.
But the reveal was excellent.
It was.
They knew that we wanted to hear the engine note. They had that.
They revved the engine.
Sounded good.
The car came flying out, and it's beautiful. So one of my favorite cars of the show has to be the Acura Nsx. And full disclosure, I used to own one of these, so I may be a little biased. Of course, over 550 horsepower, 2 electric motors in the front, 1 in the back, a transversely mounted 6-cylinder turbo. How could you not love that? I know how. $150,000. That's what they're saying it's going to cost. That's a lot of money. How does it drive? Have no clue, but I'm hoping that we'll get to drive it this year.
You know, I've noticed, by the way, we've had a lot of kickback on that one as well, where people have said that's just too much money. $150,000 approximately is what they're saying. But you know what? If I recall, the original NSX wasn't that cheap either. Yeah, and that was in the
90s.
In the 90s, early 90s money, right?
And you compare that to an i8, it's comparable. You compare it to a 918, and we're comparing them because it's that weird drivetrain, right?
Yeah, where it has, it's basically, there are 2 electric motors in the front and then 1 in the back, and then it has a V6 on top of that.
A turbo, right?
A turbo V6, and it has an in-house built 9-speed dual clutch transmission. So what they're basically building, I think, is a discount P1.
So I think, well, we asked him, what does this car compete with? We mentioned the i8,
Yeah, they said
and he kind of waved his hand and said, well, the Audi R8
Yeah, that
and
was
the 911 Turbo. So he's saying, forget about the drivetrain, just think about the performance envelope
numbers.
And sort of the...
Both have 4 wheels
handling.
and 2 seats.
Yes, they all do have an mid-engine with the R8, but
Okay, the Porsche has some seats in the back. All right, let's get to the star of the show.
oh, absolutely.
Easy peasy. I know that you guys know what's coming, right? Obviously, the Ford GT. I mean, Ford just nailed it out of the ballpark.
Well, the car came about, you know, we're very serious about performance at Ford, and we're also very serious about innovation through performance. And so we needed a car that we could use as the sort of the flagship, if you will, of Ford performance. And what better car to do it than the GT?
It could have been just a concept car, and we're all looking at it, and a lot of people who are with
It's a production car.
It said it was production.
It's a ready production car. I mean, they're ready to produce the damn thing.
In about a year. Yeah, in about a year. I mean, there is one problem, though, and I see it as a problem.
We can't afford it?
Not just that. It's going to have the same thing that's basically inside of the Raptor coming up.
An EcoBoost.
An EcoBoost V6.
Oh, God.
So everybody seems to be focused on this.
I'm not going to name this publication, but they were able to get the car as it was leaving because they revealed it not in Cobo Hall, but in
Joe Louis Arena
next door. And then somebody stuck around. They were smart. We should have done that. And they got the car as it was driving out. And they got the exhaust note, and it did not sound good. I mean, maybe when it gets into that red range,
wasn't it kind of?
You know, Nathan, you can approximate it. You know what a turbo is.
Oh, I kind of have that, and then you hear this little whine on top of it. The thing,
but that's just, you know, not revving it, and not on the racetrack. Yeah, so I'm sure when we hear it,
we
it's
need
full
to drive
glory.
it on a racetrack desperately. Here's what I'm really hoping. I'm hoping that it's going to be around the same price as the Acura, and that both of their performance levels are about the same.
No way.
How cool would that be?
It's going to be. I'm telling you right now,
like 300.
Like 300.
Oh,
here's the crazy thing about the last GT, right?
Yeah.
It languished the dealers toward the end of its run, and now that car is selling for. It was selling for
huge.
More. It's like they're selling. If you can get one at an auction, it'll be between 250 to 300,000, and those cars new are at about 150 to 200, right?
Yeah,
so
around 150. Yeah.
They've appreciated in double
in
the
just
price.
10 years, or less, under 10 years.
Yeah, and you couldn't really sell them, and now we've got a new one.
Yeah, I just got to say this real quick. Ford GT was one of the first supercars I ever drove, and I loved it. I'm hoping that this one is better.
And it looks amazing. It looks like a spaceship.
Beautiful. Beautiful,
or transformer, or
aluminum,
something.
carbon fiber, all kinds of exact materials.
Carbon fiber tub, carbon fiber body, aluminum suspension components.
Just wanted to make love to the car.
It's amazing. And you know, remember when we went to Texas to the Circuit of the Americas at the Endurance Championship?
Yes.
And Ford has an EcoBoost race car that they've been using.
Well, there it is, the star of the show, the Ford GT. This definitely stole the show. And you know, you need three things to make a car that's crazy cool. You need it to be low, you need it to be wide, and you need it to be swoopy. And that is a starship, a spaceship of a car. We don't know a lot about it. We know that it's made from very light materials. We know that there's a digital dashboard, and we know that there's an EcoBoost engine underneath that's producing around or over 600 horsepower. But you know what? That's all we need to know, because we know that Ford is going to build it, and we know that that is a crazy cool car that has that lust factor. All right, guys, I got to break up this love fest. We're out of time. Thank you for watching. We got to get back to editing. It was a hell of a great show. We live streamed it.
Yes, we did.
We're going to be doing the same thing from Chicago, so be sure to check out our live stream. Basically, we're taking the press conferences as they happen, and we're putting them up on TFL Car. And the reason we can do that is because... Or Truck, TFL Truck, both are getting live stream, is because of viewers like you and, of course, our Patreon subscribers, supporters. Thank you guys. It was a great show. The team just really came together, and I hope you found our coverage interesting. As always, this is
Nathan,
Andre,
and Roman saying thanks for watching, and check out TFL Car and TFLTruck.com for more news, views, and
real-world reviews.
Ciao.
Bye.